投手史上最高額となる12年3億2500万ドルの超巨額契約でロサンゼルスドジャースに加入し、メジャーリーグに大きな衝撃を与えた山本由伸投手。ワールドシリーズでの圧巻のピッチングや数々の強打者たちをねじ伏せるかの登板は現地アメリカでも常に注目の敵となっています。対戦したヤンキースのアーロン、ジャッジ選手が優れた球質だけでなく制球力も本当に素晴らしいと脱帽すれば、同僚のフリーマン選手は由伸のコマンドはロイ・ハラデイのようだと往年の大投手になぞらえて絶賛します。ここからはその様子を字幕付きでご紹介します。
To come by tonight, starting with Yamamoto, what was he doing? Aaron had kind of mentioned that fastball maybe a little bit higher velocity than he had seen in the past.
Hey, Yamamoto looked great. He signed the deal he did for a reason. He's a great pitcher. Besides having elite stuff, he's got great command. I think that's what we really noticed today was, we get into hitters counts and he still wouldn't give in to the heart of the plate. He really lived on the edges and could work any pitch at any time, working that curveball splitter, off of that good heater that he run up to 97, 98 tonight. So just kind of kept guys off balance, kept us on the ground, really couldn't get anything in the air.
You were in right field for the first time in quite some time with Soto being out with the injury. How much relief was there in this clubhouse when you found out it was just inflammation and nothing more serious?
Big time. You never like hearing that. Anytime any ball player, if it's an elbow, anything like that, we had that same thing go on with Dominguez last year. You don't like seeing that, and we all kind of were pretty relieved when we found out it was just inflammation.
Did this feel like a special game tonight, given the opponents and the situation here?
Really just feeding off the crowd, I think, is what made it special. It was packed tonight. They were on their feet from the very first pitch all the way, into extra innings. That's the games you want to play in. It's fun. You got two great teams, two great matchups, going back and forth, especially the outing that, Cody had starting it off for us, holding that lineup down was impressive. So it was a fun one tonight. I just wish it would have ended a little different.
How do you feel about the job Cody's done overall?
It's been impressive going all the way back to his start in Cleveland. It was pretty impressive. I didn't know too much about him, saw him a little bit in spring training, but getting a chance to see him go out there and work. The guy's a competitor. He's never backs down. He'll attack any hitter, and especially when you have those first three guys in this lineup. That's a tough ass, and he went right at him. And that's what you love. Playing defense behind a guy like that is going to attack the zone, use all his pitches, and just leave it out on the field.
Last night, did you find yourself thinking about the sort of thing while you're home, thinking today, like, man, we got something great going on here? And you saw what happened last year against the Dodgers when you hurt your foot and the season's sabotaged out there. Did that go through your mind, like, hard to enjoy the win when you don't know what's going to happen to a very important piece?
Yeah, there's a little unknown, but all you can do is say a prayer and hope for the best. And we got the best news we can tonight. He's a big part of this team. We've seen it all year. He comes up in big moments, plays great defense, great clubhouse guy, and it was tough not having him out there tonight. But I'll take missing one game over missing him for a season.
For Yamamoto, you mentioned he throwing 97, 98. Which one was kind of impressed you the most? Was it a fastball or was it a secondary pitch?
Kind of all of them. He's got great stuff. Fastball. He was, I think, the biggest thing besides having that type of velo. He could locate it where he wanted it to. He was working to both sides of the plate, working it down and away, working it up and away, working it into me. So it was impressive. But that's who you want to face. You want to go out there and face the best, and he was going out there and doing it.
はこう語りました。
But the pitching from when you came in to where the pitching is now, right? You got to face Savage, you got to face Mizrachi, all those guys from when you first came in. Because your first homer was off of Roy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Halliday, not too shabby.
Yeah,
that's something to put in the books.
I was there for that.
Yeah,
I was there for that one. I watched it. But what is your take from when you see a guy, when you face a Roy Halladay, to where you're seeing the Mizrachis, the Savages, and the guys that you're facing in today's game?
Yeah, so I think the difference is there's a lot more guys that pitch like Roy, not were Roy. Like they were cutting it, sinking it, throwing curveballs, getting you off. Kind of almost like I view Yamamoto kind of like Roy in the sense of how he could pinpoint a ball, his command. He was setting up hitters. obviously, Yamamoto's 97 to 99 and all that stuff. And I faced Roy at the end more of like 91 to 94. And, I didn't get him early on, but it's a lot of throwing now. And I think that's the key that I've learned as I've gotten older is not swinging at that 1-0 heater that's on the inside corner blacked. It's okay to take that pitch and wait for them to miss their next spot and miss 3 inches out over the plate. And then that's my honey hole where I can just shoot that into the gap. So I think it's you got to know who you're facing. Like facing Yamamoto, maybe you shoot for that 1-0 heater in or that 1-0 cutter in and try and shoot him down the line and take the shot because you're not going to get many pitches to hit. And I think it's just different from when I came up. There's a lot more sink cuts, curves, change-ups. Now it's four seam up, and get above the barrel and pop that up, and then curveballs down below. The splitters are coming into the game now. So I think it's just you got to adapt, and then obviously the velocity has gone up so much in the last few years, and now you call them mop-up guys. They're just young guys that haven't really established themselves coming out of the bullpen throwing 98 to 100. I'm like, we're up by 7. Where's the 91 with sink? Like, that was what we were facing 15 years ago. That just doesn't happen anymore. So I think it's just like if you guys were playing now, you guys would adapt to it, and you'd like, that's just how it is. You just get used to the velocity and you're seeing it over and over again. But in the span of 16 years, I would say maybe you would count the one guy coming out of the bullpen throwing 95 to 98 when I came up in 2010, and now it's every guy. So the game has changed, and sometimes it's like we want the guys to throw as hard as they can. So now they're going full velocity for 2 years and they blow out, and then you kind of feel bad for it because it's almost like next man, who's going to be the next guy to throw 100? And they're all throwing 100 now, and so much TrackMan's behind them and like spin rate, and this is like, well, your slider's only spinning 2100. Let's see if we can spin it 24. So now you're throwing it even harder, and it's more torque on your elbow. So it's different from now than it was back in the day because everyone was just trying to hit spots when we were when I first came up, and now it's just let's blow them away, and it's different. It really is. And as you get older, that fastball looks harder and harder.
We have a lot to hang our hat on.
There's a whole country of fans right now that are feeling your pain right now. What do you say to those fans when they came out full force?
Thank you for being here for us, for really getting behind us all year.
George, on the other side, what can you say about what you guys had to deal with in Yamamoto throughout this series, just the sort of challenge that he presented, and to see him come out today, having pitched started yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, he's elite. There's no other way to describe it. He's elite. Can control 6 or 7 different types of spin, and obviously that split is hard to hit. So he's elite.
Success has been aggressive by nature. Obviously, at the plate, Yamamoto is very different than Glasnow tonight. Does that change for you, or same old Ernie?
Yeah, it doesn't change for me. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. I'm gonna do my thing, and obviously, you look at the scouting reports and see what they're good at. But I've learned to just lean into what I'm good at, and just stay true to that and let everything else kind of take care of itself. Obviously, Yamamoto was amazing the other night, and Glasnow is pretty darn good too. So we got to have some good approach and get after it.
In the back right corner, Julian.
Ernie, in addition to you all's bat to ball skills, there's been a lot of talk about bat speed. I'm curious, is that something as a team that you guys trained for collectively this year to get to the point, and how much do you think that is a part of success?
Yeah, I think, the harder you swing, the harder you're going to hit the balls, obviously. So that's something that, we monitor, and, our hitting coaches are constantly looking at and seeing, where we're at. There's different ways, whether.
今回のインタビューからもわかる通り、山本由伸投手がメジャーの超一流打者たちからこれほどまでに絶賛される理由は、単なる球速、最速99マイルだけではなく、卓越したピッチデザインと一球ごとのコマンド、制球力、 の融合にあります。特に、ジャッジ選手が指摘したように、バッターズカウントになっても、ストライクゾーンの四隅、エッジズを攻め続けられるコントロールは、まさに全盛期のロイ、ハラデイを彷彿とさせます。また、フリーマン選手が驚嘆したポストシーズンでの3イニング救援登板は、彼のメンタルの強さと、独自のやり投げトレーニングや、入念なストレッチが生み出す驚異的な柔軟性、回復力を証明するものでした。メジャーの現代野球では、100マイルの速球を投げる、力押しの投手が増え、肘や肩の故障で、IL、故障、シャリスト、入りする選手が相次ぐ中、山本投手のように多彩な変化球、スプリット、カーブ、カッターを針の穴を通すような精度で投げ分けるピッチングスタイルこそが、長きにわたって活躍できる、真のエースの条件と言えるでしょう。今やドジャースのワールドシリーズ連覇の鍵を握る最重要ピースとなった山本投手が、後半戦でどのような投球を見せてくれるのか、セーバーメトリクスのデータからも目が離せません。球界を代表する強打者たちが絶賛する、山本由伸投手のピッチングや、彼独自の調整法について、皆さんはどう思いますか？ぜひコメント欄で意見や感想を聞かせてください。この動画が面白かったら、高評価とチャンネル登録もよろしくお願いします。それでは、また次の動画でお会いしましょう。